hear that?
I did. There was a lot of snap, crackle, and pop.
That's a moving crack pop. If
Rice Krispies
the
in there.
microphone picked that up, you gotta leave that in. This is now our opening.
I assume because I heard it.
Okay. Anyway, hi. I'm. Should I do my Ira Glass voice? Hi, I'm Dan. I'm out of practice, man. We have missed a single week, and I'm just a mess.
Yeah.
Hi, Sam.
Hi.
This is Daniel. That's Sam, the other voice that you're hearing. This is Endless Appreciation. We are back after a week off for us, not a week off for you. Whew.
Yeah, we had our bases covered. We're good. It's tough when I'm realizing we have to skip a week because technically it's 2 weeks before we talk again. So that just throws everything out of rhythm. Although I have to say, you being in a completely new home environment probably has a lot to do with you feeling a little out of sorts. And why isn't technology working?
We're coming to you live from a recording. It's not live. We're coming to you live from my kitchen counter, because it's the only surface in our home at the moment, because everything we own is on a truck somewhere between here and Mexico.
I was going to ask her, I thought everything would be covered, like all the surface areas would be covered with boxes, but you're just sitting there with your bare essentials.
Yet. So if I'm being, if I'm, my number one tip for moving is save all of your money for as long as you can and pay too much for movers, because our movers are going to arrive with all of our things. They are going to unpack all of our things, and then they are going to take the boxes away.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. So, like...
Have I ever told you my $1 billion idea? I've got a billion of them.
No, but I would love it if we actually pause. No, if it's a $1 billion idea, we need to not publish this on the internet, and we need to do it.
No, it's nothing we could do. It's something that Amazon should do. A monthly subscription service for Amazon package box pickup, the empty box pickup alone. People would pay for to be recycled. And then Amazon, I would think, even if they're like partially destroyed because people rip into things, a little too excitedly sometimes, Amazon now has the ability to recycle their own standard box to, I have to imagine it's a lot easier.
I love this idea. It is not a $1 billion idea, nor is it an idea that they should charge money for. They should do that for free.
That would be amazing. I totally agree. They should do it for free, but I have a feeling UPS doesn't want nothing to do with that.
I'm going to come out with a really, really strong take here. It's pretty hot, steaming hot from my brain to you. I think Jeff Bezos has enough money.
True, but there's still a lot more of my life that could be convenienced.
I would say he probably has too much money.
Yeah.
It's good to be back. Already talking about how the billionaire class shouldn't exist.
Can I complain about my Mac real quick?
Oh my God.
I'm kidding. God. All right, a lot's happened in the last 2 weeks. I don't have any follow-up written down, but you have moved. Sounds like you are in the lovely part that I would expect, just based on the background noise. That is classic downtown.
Yeah, that's us.
I'm curious, are you close enough to the giant bread factory near you to actually smell when they're baking? Have you done that smell test?
I unfortunately cannot smell a bakery from our home. I can smell a park, which is great. And
that's wonderful.
I can smell all of the cleaning supplies as we clean our home. So that's great.
Clean your home. Your home didn't come clean?
You would think it would, right? With how much money we paid for this here home. Any amount of money would have been enough, right? But
you're buying something. It should be clean.
You would think so, but alas, it was not. I should just Venmo the selling agent for like $150.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to talk about moving. I want to talk about photography. We can talk about
photography. Before we talk about photography, can I talk about something that I learned newly the other day, that humans can smell in like 1 parts per trillion? We're that sensitive to this smell.
Okay, but wait, multiple follow-ups. Why did you learn this?
Oh, where did it come from? Just random internet perusing. Oh, I also figured out why the drinking age in the U.S. is 21, and it makes perfect sense. And I can't believe it never clicked in my mind before. We'll get back to that in a second. But this is, I think, a very interesting thing, and I just experienced it because I just got back on a run and it was raining. And humans smell. There's a really specific word for the smell when it rains, and it's actually not the water. It's the smell of wet dirt, and it's called geosmin. And humans are so sensitive to it that they can detect it in 1 parts per trillion, which is impressive because great whites, which a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, they can smell blood from miles away, which isn't actually accurate, but they are really sensitive to the smell, quote, of blood in the water. They detect that at roughly 1 part per million, something like that. And so we are at 1 part per trillion for the smell of geosmin. Geosmin? I don't know how to say it exactly.
Geosmell.
And that is essentially the smell of wet dirt and like plant oils as they're wetted due to rain, which I thought was really interesting.
Okay, so you've spent some time on the internet since we've gone away. You've come back with some fun facts.
Just like 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes of internet
total.
time.
Yeah,
it makes sense. We've only been on the internet for 5 minutes in the last 2 weeks. So follow-up was, why do you know that? Internet stuff, got it.
Internet stuff. Other random fact, I've been wondering this forever, and I get so much crap about it every time I'm traveling in Europe. And it's like, oh, okay, let's critique America. Okay, fine. It's plenty to critique. But one of the things, especially Europeans keep asking or talking about, or just like, I can't believe, blah, blah. So the drinking age being 21. And yeah, that does seem kind of silly when you're just like, yeah, it's like 16 in the UK or anywhere really, 15 in Europe, right? Okay, well, what's another thing? Have you been to Europe, Daniel?
I lived in Europe. So I've been to Europe.
Play along.
Yeah. I have been to Europe.
So what is one of the nicest first things you realize about being in Europe that does not exist in the U.S.?
Healthcare.
No, like
public transportation.
Thank you. Yes, public transportation, right? What's one of the first things any European that comes to the U.S., aside from maybe New York City, realizes about the U.S.?
It smells.
Lack of, the geosmin. The lack of public transportation, right? It's because car culture in the U.S. is unlike anywhere else. It's bad, and it's an unintended consequence of the fact that everybody drives everywhere. I was talking to my friend. I was just in Santa Cruz this past weekend, and she just moved there from Italy. She's going to live there for like 6 months trying to find a job in California, blah blah blah, and she doesn't have a car. She's living with her grandma. Her grandma has a car. She can't legally drive it though because she still has an Italian license, and she is completely stranded in suburban Santa Cruz, which is quite lovely. I'm not going to lie, but
there
you
are
can't,
worse places to be stranded.
Yeah, but there's nowhere to walk. You can't walk to a store. You can't walk to any coffee, which is fairly common in virtually any place other than if you live in a downtown cultural center of any medium to major sized city, even small cities. Downtown's fairly walkable, but outside of that, you were stuck. And as a consequence of needing a car to get everywhere, throughout the 70s, they actually did lower the drinking age during the Vietnam War and right after for a few years to about 18, I think. And then, people started drunk driving a little bit too much. That was, a couple decades after drunk driving was still an issue, but nobody cared about it. And there were a lot more people and a lot more affordable cars. And so essentially, they, certain organizational groups like MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and other just pure statistics proved that people were dying in way higher rates in the U.S. based on driving while intoxicated. That is not an issue you have when you take the train home or take the train.
Why didn't we just build a better
that would
bus
be great.
system? Yeah. Or a train system instead of raising the drinking age. Well, this has been a fun detour down American culture way.
Well, I've just always been wondered and frustrated. It's like, okay, surely at some point around the corner, they're going to just lower the drinking age because everybody's so annoyed about it. And everybody is all the more aware now, given the, collapsing of distance between people via the internet. It's like, yeah, it should be 18. But no, it should not. not until we fix some of these other problems. It's just, I'm always fascinated with unintended consequences of things, and I doubt that that's something a lot of people really put together. As obvious as it is to say out loud, I never had it click in my head until last weekend. It's like, oh
Well,
yeah,
here we are. Endless Appreciation is pro healthcare,
Public
and we are
transportation.
pro
Well-
public transportation, and we are pro lowering the drinking age once those things are addressed.
yeah. Once those things are addressed, we can sign off. We can
What other
sunset the
large-
podcast. And we'll
What
be here
other
for
large
100 years.
cultural things can we ban? Parking requirements are ruining cities. Y'all.
1,000%. It kills me to see before and after images of beautiful cities in the Midwest in particular, where it was just blocks of just wonderful buildings. I assume that could still be here unless they were poorly built in terms of code law and laws. I don't know. But yeah, you look at pictures now and they're literally just parking lots. They're not even parking decks. They're lots. One level. That's
Don't
the
need a
worst.
parking lot. Parking lots are bad, y'all.
Hey, self-driving, that would be one of the first things that would be an immediate consequence, huge benefit to life as we know it. Have your car just drive itself to the parking lots on the edge of the city where all parking lots have been, vanquished to. That would be incredible. I mean, not that I expect that to happen anytime soon, but boy, that
also,
would be a lovely consequence. of
Self-driving is for saving the car industry, not for saving the planet. Self-driving just means people are going to get hit with cars that don't have people in them. Come on, Sam. This is a pro public transportation podcast, not a pro self-driving podcast.
You're right. Still, a lot of people already own cars. Not that they are going. Yeah, you're right. Whatever. I'm excited for the possibility of cars
future.
not existing. Okay, but can I just say, maybe I'm in a complaining attitude today. I don't know why.
I love
But one of my most favorite experiences was going to the very inner historic districts in like medieval towns in Europe, right? Really
Yep.
small places where they're literally too narrow to have cars because they were built before anything, even like horse and buggy, I think. But nowadays, okay, yeah, you get this beautiful concept a couple years ago of what it would look like to not have cars parked everywhere along a street corner. It's amazing. It's lovely. But now you have scooters parked, littered across all these inner historic areas of Rome and Sevilla and all these small places in Tuscany. And it's like,
Are we talking about the bird scooters, like the little
Yes,
lime
yes, the
scooters?
little
They
scoots.
are okay. So I accidentally had my movers pack my microphone, so I am recording on those of
My
you.
microphone.
Those of you that are watching this instead of listening to this just got a little treat of me holding up one of Sam's microphones. I scooted to Sam's house today to pick up this microphone and back, and it took like 15 minutes round trip scooting. And I walked in and was like, well, these are a scourge on public transportation, but what a win for mobility. Because
Oh my gosh. Yep.
so good.
They are incredible. No better way to like explore or see most cities, but
I would love it if we could solve some problems without other problems popping up. Unintended consequences, not for me. I prefer intended consequences only.
well,
I'm
if
being
these
honest.
companies had taken the responsible approach and asked and presented their plans to the various governing bodies of every city they rolled out in, instead of just blanketing the place with scooters wherever they wanted, no permitting, no permission, no plan. Because now that the government bodies have started to issue permits depending on the city and push back and regulate a little bit the existence of these things, there are rules in place where you are charged if you don't leave your scooter in a designated drop-off spot and that's geo-marked in the app. That's really great. So but now they're playing catch up because people weren't conditioned to think that way and use those scooters at launch. They're having to teach everyone new rules, and nobody likes that. And it takes forever for people to catch up and figure it out and realize they shouldn't throw their scooter in the inner harbor. You would think people would know that anyway, but no, they have to geo block that too. Okay, I just want to follow up real fast.
Okay, follow up.
You mentioned, this isn't follow up, but I'm following up on 30 seconds ago. You mentioned for people not listening to the podcast, I learned something so cool, and it's taken me this long to come across this stupid little life hack. I just want to share it here for anybody watching on YouTube, or I'll describe it as much as I can for the podcast. You ready?
I'm ready. Hit me.
Okay, here's the problem. You have a nice piece of clothing. You know, some like maybe slightly more fancy and delicate material, and you want to hang that thing. And you could hang it on a hanger, like fold it in a weird way through this, or you could hang it on a hanger if it's a shirt or a sweater, so that it comes, you know, just off and on hanging. But then you get this weird like shoulder nipple thing,
Your divot. Yeah.
a divot where the fabric stretches out. Right, it's the worst. The only way to fix that is to put the thing on, then soak your shoulder pads in water and hope that the thing dries back to the regular shape. Or you can do this.
Here's the fancy hack.
So you have a sweater or cardigan or really anything. Right? You fold it in half.
Okay, everyone. So you fold it in half.
Lengthwise, right down the neckline.
Right.
Then you take the hanger upside down.
Upside down hanger.
Like away from the thing.
Yep.
And then you...
Right between bada bing, bada boom.
Yep. You fold the body first. You could do either way. The body and then the arms. And look at this. You got a nicely non-divoted sweater ready for the hanger. Ready for the closet.
Everyone that was listening on the podcast, you should have just tapped fast forward 45 seconds. But if you didn't, you fold.
Did you know this?
I did. Of course, I didn't know this.
Oh, okay, good.
Thank you for sharing this wonderful information with me, everyone watching on YouTube, and for those who are listening to their actual podcast. I apologize that we did some video content. So, Sam. Photos. I would love to take a photo. I would love to. I have not taken a photo in like 10 days. 9 days.
I just took 2 of us podcasting with the camera you recommended. This is the vintage product by Papershoot.
Paper camera. Everyone go to papercamerashoot.com. Buy some paper cameras with Sam and I. We're bringing back that weird vintage look. I think, to describe it accurately, I think it's the old, it has like kind of the vibe of like a disposable camera, except it's a 16 or 18 megapixel image, so it looks nicer.
Yeah, and I got the slightly nicer case, so it's like super heavy metal, brass or something, and it's cool. Problem is the viewfinder cutout, so there is no like digital display on this camera that you assemble yourself.
To be clear, this camera costs $120 to like $250 is the most expensive option.
Yeah, it's but you would think they could at least have a cutout and some relatively close approximation of what the lens is actually capturing. It's like not even close at all.
So we're just vibing. It's just
you just got a vibe. I mean, maybe that's oh my gosh. Yeah, these pictures are awful. I'm looking at them right now. It's like hilariously not even close to what it should be. But that's okay. It's, you know what? It's like film. You never know what you're going to get.
There is information for you in this situation, Sam. There is control that you feel like you have that you need to let go of, such as what your photo should look like when you take it.
I'm sorry. As a photographer, you're right.
We need to. You're not shooting a wedding on a guy. I once interned. I didn't intern. I second shot a single wedding with a man who charged an extra $10,000 to shoot it only on expired film.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a thing. Charge more to take crappier pictures.
Yeah, photos that may or may not exist.
Yeah. Jeez.
Right, like what if your expired film was just like light leaked or dead or whatever, and you missed the kiss or who knows? Anyway, I think about that like once every couple of months, probably, because that man, like $10,000, that's a lot of money. I would love to just regularly make $10,000. That's the dream. And so now I'm just like thinking, like, that's an add-on for that man.
Maybe some of that. I mean, and depending on the time, maybe it was for a certain amount of time. Maybe not so much now.
Oh, right. It could be gone. Who knows?
Could be gone, or it could be the FU kind of part of the package where they don't expect anybody to ever add that on, but it kind of creates some value in the cheaper options. It's like a website company I was talking to earlier. They were like, yeah, we charge $55 to design your site, and it's like $250 or something to do like custom logo work, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, me, Sam, literally speaking now to this person. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't need a new website. I already dropped 10 grand on my current one that's being worked on. And it's not just the website, but it's a new website and a ton of branding. It's like a complete rebrand as well with all the assets that go along with that. And they were like, oh my gosh, $10,000. It's like, yeah, it's a really good company. I love them. They do great work. I'm willing to spend the money when I know it's going to come out wonderfully. God, it's great. And then I go on their website and I was like, guys, you have an $11,000 option for a custom brand, completely custom site. And they're like, oh, but that's the one that's like FU, like nobody's really going to pay that. It tries to, raise the value, the perceived value of what they're actually likely to buy. I'm like, okay. It was literally a description of what I'm actually getting out of my designer. It's just funny. Sorry, what was your question?
Oh, I don't remember, man. I had follow-ups about your smell stuff, but like I'm not a whole person this week. I am
Excuse me. Neither am I. Did you hear that? That's because I left the conference with a lovely parting gift.
That's what you get for going to conferences. Did you have a wonderful time at so you go to a lot of conferences. Okay, let's talk about photo conferences, because I have a bone to pick with photo conferences or an adoration to give upon photo conferences. Okay. They're which is separate from workshops, right? So like workshops, hit or miss, very hard to tell if it's going to be worth the money that you're putting forth. But it's its own beast, right? But photo conferences.
So let's define conference. What would you define a conference?
Well, so I would define a workshop as less than 20 people you're all taking the same photos of the same models in the same sets, and you're learning at some point, right? So like someone standing in front of a room with a projector talking to you very briefly and or explaining something, and then doing practical training with the same set of models. Everyone gets the same photos at the end.
Okay.
That's a workshop. A conference is just a conference, right? Like a gathering of, more than 20 people, but usually hundreds, if not, can get up to thousands.
Yep.
And, booths of
trade show, various
booths.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say that's pretty accurate.
There are happy hour that wrecks someone.
Right, they're usually multiple, depending. The one I just came back from WPPI, I will say, does have like kind of a hybrid component where there's the trade show, and then there's the conference, which is essentially made up of a bunch of different hour-long lectures that you can take, or like actual photo walks, which is kind of like a mini workshop, which is kind of cool. Although I didn't do any of them. But what's your bone to pick?
Well, I don't know if this is the correct bone to pick. Right, so like my problem with them at the time that I was professionally shooting, so long time ago, over a decade ago, was they're all the same, right? Like there's not a lot of variance in the content you're getting or even the speakers, right? Like they're, as a conference speaker yourself, I apologize if this accidentally cannibalizes your conference speaking fees, but as a conference speaker, right, like you go to like, let's say 10 a year, right?
Probably,
give or take. And like, how different are they when you go to them, right? Like how...
very similar, but they tend to be regional. So it's, they're trying to appeal to people that, well, it depends. You're right. The bigger ones aren't necessarily regional. They're trying to draw people in from everywhere, but I know what you mean. Definitely a lot of overlapping topics, very samey, uncreative approach to a lot of same strategies and methodologies as to how people are lighting people and the tools that they're using and all of that. Yeah, I agree.
So like part of my frustration around this is a thing that Glass should have at some point, right? Like my frustration is not so much that these exist and that, like they're regional. Like, of course they're regional. Like you speaking at a conference in London means you're going to be speaking to people from the UK, maybe someone from Ireland, maybe someone from like the Netherlands, right? Like the locales will be geographically fenced. No one's flying in from California to hear you speak at a talk in London because you're going to be speaking in Santa Cruz in a couple of weeks or months or a year, whatever, right? Like, so that's fine. But I'm trying, as a person who will be tasked with planning said Glass conference in the future, I'm trying to come up with literally anything that could be different.
Oh, I know exactly what to do.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Endless Appreciation Conference coming to you 2024. Don't say anything more. We're just gonna do exactly. Oh no, we can give the secret away. Secret's out. We're gonna share the.
Right now, you want to know my ideas?
Yeah. Here,
okay.
Give me your $1 billion
ideas.
Here's
like chameleon. Yes, $1 million. They change into magical crypto.
Stop it. Focus.
Here we go. Bring in speakers from other crafts and make it very clear that this will have nothing. This speaker might literally from any other craft. I'm talking quilt artists. Like bring them in to give a 1-hour lecture. Bring in a writer. Bring in people that have literally never taken a photo in their life, but have enough insight into their own craft, whatever it is, music production, something like this. Bring in 5 or 6 of those people from totally different backgrounds, and then kind of mix in a couple of different photographers that maybe have some novel sounding talk that hopefully is not just sounding novel and will be, because occasionally you get that obvious. And there are literally, like, I don't know why quilting is stuck in my head right now, except there are so many conferences and little sub world, little bubbles of people that work in all kinds of different crafts that have their own little issues with conferences because they have their own little like workshop, large group conference-ish meetups to learn about quilting. And they listen to presentations and they hear about the same techniques, and it's all the same types of issues. But the thing is, in any process of creation, it's the same thing. But when you are dealing and coming from a different craft entirely, they might phrase things or approach a problem that you can see now in photography. This is the same thing I'm dealing with, but in a completely different way of solving it. I think it would be really fascinating, not only because you're going to definitely learn something new about something you had no idea about, even if you don't want to go out and make a quilt. 2, it's just, I've never seen it done before, and I guarantee it would work. I know it's weird. You still have to have some people in the lineup, relatively talking about photography, since
do you?
You would need at least 1 or 2. But the other problem you're going to deal with have with that is, and this is a problem with so many conferences, is that the money side of things. This is why I love B&H's conference so much, because they don't care about the money. They don't charge people to attend. They only charge people, vendors that set up on the trade show floor, which makes this is a win-win as far as I can tell, because trade show people, you know what, you're going to want to pay the $15,000 for the booth spot when there's 7,000 people walking through because nobody had to pay to be there, compared to paying $15,000 for a booth spot and only getting 200 people maybe walking by your booth at some point because everybody had to pay $400 to be there. Like, conference organizers want to make money from both ends. They want to charge attendees, then they want to charge the vendors. That's silly. B&H has it right.
You forgot about charging sponsors, which are different from vendors.
Too. You're right. Yeah. Exactly. So the problem is then they want everybody who's speaking to promote to their audience. They're like, hey, tickets are on sale. Got to go buy, make sure you promote that we have tickets on sale. We've got 5 left. Last call, 3 tickets left, even though there's actually 30. There are 3 tickets. They're going to go fast. Like, this is a thing that plays itself out over and over and over. And a lot of the issues are just up against the fact that people are having to pay so much per ticket to attend. And if you didn't have that, you could bring in massively more interesting people that didn't have as much audience reach as well, which would be very nice, because a lot of people that are newer are doing interesting, amazing things, but nobody knows, because by default they are new and nobody knows yet. So like getting those people to come in and talk, like that's also gold, but they have less appeal when their audience is 5,000 people on Instagram, because they know they're maybe going to sell one ticket via that person's promotion. So that is, and it's ripe for disruption, for lack of a better word, right now, because conferences have all sort of gone belly up since COVID, aside from the much, much larger ones. Yeah. The more intimate community building ones that have no real... The other thing I should say is no real need for the person organizing it to make all of their year's survival money off of this, because that's the other thing that I saw happen. It was like one, maybe two people that would organize these couple 100-person conferences, and that was a significant part of the money they needed to live on. So what would slowly happen after the first year or two, because everybody's bad at managing money apparently, they would start to sell the next year's tickets and take that money and spend it on expenses now. And then when that eventually they had a slower cycle or a slower year where not enough people signed up, they couldn't pay their speakers. And in kinds of bad things.
In their defense, organizing a conference is a hellscape, right? Like I don't envy any conference organizers. Bless all of you. I regret my future choices to join your ranks.
Not saying it's easy, but it is easy. All I'm saying is it's easy to mess it up. That much is clear, and it can be done well, and I think it can be done very uniquely. There's a whole nother company I've done a series of conferences with called Not a Conference. And the entire brand and approach is to make sure people aren't sitting in chairs listening to speakers on 4 hours on end, and they're actually up out of their seats doing the most fun part of a conference, and that's talking to the other people around you that have a shared interest and passion in photography. So you get all the hangout, all the like hands-on shooting, because it's a lot of shooting throughout the 2 days, and that's it. Maybe 2 talks where you're sitting in front of a projector for about an hour, which is about the right amount. So it's not easy. It's not easy to do right. That's why most of them fail, aside from COVID. So that was my pep talk for Glasses Conference.
Glasses Conference in 2025. I'm pushing it out. I said 2024. That was a mistake.
The big thing is, I think, gratefully, the motivation I would think behind this isn't to make money from the conference so that Glass can survive. No. It's to break even or just create awareness of this app that is the real business, which is great. And that, I think, also would motivate people to want to attend a conference like that, because it's a little symbiotic circle that you're starting to create, right? With a Glass app, a Glass conference, we got the podcast, whatever else, and kind of all feed back into itself as an awareness about this amazing platform that continues to get better and better. Been enjoying it.
You want to know something great that
Always.
I can't actually share? We got some fun things coming in a week or two that I can't share at all. I don't know why. I don't know why I prefaced this like I could.
Yeah, no, everybody's. It's okay. We will let the anticipation and excitement build. Let's leave that box unopened. Right there in this episode, so that everybody listening can have
unopened boxes is basically my life right now. So
it would be nice if you could at least look at your boxes.
I would love to. They're somewhere. They're I believe they are currently in a warehouse in the middle of nowhere, Mexico, being transferred from one truck to another truck.
Okay.
So one day I'll look at boxes.
But you're settling in okay, aside from not being able to unpack? Is everything, you're comfortable?
We have a bed. We have a kitchen counter. My parents.
How many trips to IKEA at this point?
2. I've gone to IKEA twice. Someone broke my side mirror yesterday at Safeway. That was not ideal.
What?
Just awful. Like bumping cars. It's okay.
That's not ideal.
How often? You're still not shooting, right? You're like.
My first wedding of the season is next Thursday. Yeah.
Next Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Well. Is it local or is it far away?
Yeah, it's
DC.
fairly
Oh,
local. Right on the Water, District Winery, one of my favorite venues ever, and it's a fantastic part of DC that used to be not so much. I cannot believe how quickly it changed, and now, yeah, it's one of my favorite wedding venues. Lovely operation. They do everything themselves, I think. Pretty sure all the catering and everything is done in-house, so it's just like a well-oiled machine, but it's not in like a tacky way. It's not like a wedding factory the way that you can see in some venues. It's
So your first wedding is next week. How do you prepare for like getting back into this thing, right? Because like you haven't been taking a lot of photos the last couple weeks. You've taken like joking ones of us podcasting or like of your dog or your cat, but like real photos, right? Like getting out there, getting in the photo mode.
I don't. I don't do anything in terms of photo taking. I do and have been ramping up my physical daily routine. So lots of rowing, lots of stretching. Went on a run today. That was awful. Lots of sauna, lots of cold shower, like doing all this stuff to get my body just like shaken up, because I've been laying around like a potato for 2 months straight. And no alcohol, just straight up trying to purge my body of everything bad so that I can hit the ground running, fully energized. And, it's been about, 2 months? I had a session, I guess, in January. That was lovely. It's not like it's a long enough gap in time that the muscle memory of using a camera has gone anywhere from me. But
well, right, sure. Yeah. You know how to still hit your buttons, but like...
But like on an intuitive level, without having to think about it, because that does go away quickly for people if they don't shoot enough. If they don't have enough built up sort of muscle memory that, 2 months could wreck that. It's for sure. But yeah, it just kind of starts to come back to you. And, I also try and embrace that newness when I feel a little out of practice. It's not so worrisome that I'm like, oh my gosh, these are awful photos. My client's going to be so disappointed. Never, thankfully. Been shooting long enough. If you've been shooting longer than 5 years, doing weddings, even part-time, you should be well over that hump. But I like that sort of nervous, oh, that's how I do this. That's what the settings are. Like, yeah.
Do you feel nervous? Are you actually
no.
nervous? Are you sure?
Not. Yeah, definitely not. Because this couple, I've been dying to photograph them. They had to push their wedding. They're supposed to get married, I think, in 2020. So it's been like, this will be the last of the last reschedules. And so I've been dying to photograph them. They were so lovely during their engagement session. And yeah, so I'm just excited. So when I say nervous, it's generally a nervous excitement. It's not at all anxious or anxiety fueled. But then I think I've got about another 2 weeks for my next wedding after that. But a lot of people at this time of year will start to actually shoot engagement sessions a lot more, because springtime is starting to get warmer. People are like willing to go out, but maybe not as many people are willing to schedule their wedding day this early in the year. So that's a nice way to, nobody needs an hour and a half to shoot a couple and get some cool creative photos. Now, I say that.
How long does it take you to do an engagement session? I'm a 90 to 2 hour guy.
I'm an hour to an hour and a half max.
Love that. Great
but
job.
I was going to say, that also is mostly because that's not how long I need to take really photos that I'm happy with and I know the clients will like. It's because that's how long it takes to just like talk to people and get to know them and walk around a bit. But my early years, I was known to take couples for up to like 4 hours. Like this was not uncommon for me to be like out there for 4 freaking hours, because I was just flailing about ideas wise. Like I just had no idea, and I wanted to make damn sure I had more than enough to scrape together a gallery. And so, I went from delivering 120 images in the gallery, shooting 4 hours, to now 150 images in the gallery, shooting an hour to an hour and a half. Right?
You do 150 images per engagement? That's wild.
Well, generally is about 15 or so distinctly different ideas, like compositionally, light-wise, maybe changing up the pose. And I give maybe 4 or 5 frames per shot plus changing up the poses, you multiply that out, that's easy to get to 150, no doubt. And I like giving people options as far as expressions go, so I definitely deliver a couple different expressions per setup, even if the composition doesn't change a lot, the light doesn't change a lot. I just want people to have some options. So yeah,
it's very kind of you. You're a very generous man, generous photographer.
I guess. But, an hour and a half is like 10-minute chunks. And so that's just walking around for 9 of the 10 minutes and then taking photos for a minute. That's basically it. 15 times.
All right.
Maybe like 8 times. But yeah, it's not that hard.
There's like this, I have this nostalgia for returning to things after I've been away from them for a bit, right? So like I haven't taken a photo I took my last self-portrait on last Wednesday. So it's now Friday. I have to take it today or tomorrow to fit in my weekly schedule because the clock resets on Sundays. So I haven't taken a photo in 9 days, right? So it doesn't sound that long. But for me, it feels like a really long time because my entire world has shifted over the last 9 days, right? Like
Yeah, when you live in a new place, especially, or when you're traveling, it does feel like, oh my God, I haven't been home in a year.
Yeah, there are like those, that list of like traumatic events where it's like, okay, like divorce, losing a loved one, changing your job, buying a house, moving, right? Of like big things that take you a long time to recover from. And we are buying a house and moving internationally at the same time, right? So like who I was 9 days ago no longer exists, right? Like I got a haircut, my beard got trimmed, and I'm a brand new man, whole new Daniel. That was everything else was the old Daniel. This is the new Daniel, and the new Daniel hasn't taken a photo, and like new Daniel's like, oh, I'm ready to go. Like there's like this anticipation that's coming, right? Of like, I need tomorrow is the day that I'm going to take this photo, where I'm going to like take some time. I'll probably wander the neighborhood a bit first too, like, new neighborhood. Let's go, like spend an hour in the morning listening to music, taking photos, seeing what the morning light looks like in the new neighborhood, because I have no idea. And then I'll come back and then I'll take my self-portrait somewhere in our house.
Cool. How many days have you spent there so far?
This is day 3. So we oh God. Oh, yeah, so we took
Doesn't sound like it's been that great.
Okay. No, I mean, like it has been great. It's just one of those things where it's like everything is new and different and exhausting, even though it's also not new, right? Like it's old, right? Like I know how to live in America. I lived here for 29 years.
Yeah.
Before we moved away for the last 4 years. And so like I know how to do this. I know how people act. It is very strange to return to a land of small talk, if I'm being honest, right? Like the Dutch, because we lived in Amsterdam before we lived in Mexico. The Dutch are not known for their small talk.
Nope.
Bless them.
Right.
And then in Mexico,
seems to be a uniquely American characteristic. It's
right.
odd.
In Mexico, there's a little bit of small talk, but that was limited by my ability to carry on the conversation. So if we like picked the conversation tree that followed the Spanish that I spoke, it was great. But if
I see.
But if they like asked a random question and there was a new word or something, I was like, and lo siento, I'm done. Right? Like I don't know enough. As opposed to here, I like walk out and someone says something to me at the coffee shop and I understand it. It takes me like 3 seconds to realize they're talking to me, right? Like, oh God, yeah, hell, of course I would love a double espresso or whatever. So like there's the old me is, shockingly similar to the new me, but there's like this, I don't know, there's this joy of like returning to something after it's been gone for a minute. And the minute that I've been gone from creativity and taking photos, right, like it feels longer than 9 days, right? Because my headspace has been all over the place for the last couple of weeks, right? Like apologies everyone, today I published 17 days late, I published our monthly favorites from last month.
Nice.
Right today, because I missed it for some reason, and then it just kept getting missed, and then my computer was in a suitcase. and then we didn't have internet.
It's
and
okay.
then, you know, I know it's okay, right? Like, it's fine. Yeah. But then it's like, okay, that's done, right? So there's like this backlog of stuff that's like getting cleaned out. And then there's this new stuff that's happening in front of me. And like getting to take photos, that's going to be the new stuff. That's the new Daniel. It feels like, I don't know if you feel this way, but I don't feel like I actually know a place until I spend time taking pictures of it. Right? So like my understanding of, I was in Amsterdam 3 separate times before I went to Amsterdam with my camera. Like I just at the time I didn't have a small camera, right? I was traveling for work, so I went to Amsterdam multiple times. I would land in Amsterdam, I would spend a couple of days, and then I would go to wherever I was going in Europe for a conference. And then on the way home,
photography conference?
No, a domains conference.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So I would go to, like spend a couple of days in Amsterdam, and then I would leave. The third time I landed in Amsterdam, I had like finally bought a Fujifilm X100V or F or whatever the time was a few years ago. And I was like, whoo, yeah, finally. Like, I bought it because I was traveling so much and I wanted a small camera that I could take with me so I could like take some photos while I was in all of these different locales. And that, like I spent 36 hours just walking around Amsterdam taking photos, and that 36 hours is the 36 hours that made me fall in love with Amsterdam, that made me want to live in Europe, that made me want to live there, that, energized me in a way.
Did you have that feeling in the moment of making the photos, or was it fully realized when you were back looking at them and
both.
Or separated from being there and looking at them? Yeah.
It's like a different feeling when I'm like looking and editing, right?
Yeah.
Like I had the same feeling when I was, we were in, my partner and I came to Baltimore at the end of January when I walked around the neighborhoods, right? The two or three neighborhoods that we were looking at houses in. I walked around them the day before we looked at houses with our realtor and like took photos and just like spent a whole day walking around taking photos of Baltimore. At the end of that, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna buy a house. Like we're in, right? And my partner was like, what are you talking about? We haven't even looked at anything. We haven't done it. And I'm like, I know, but it's happening. Because of just
I love that. I do not have that feeling in terms of needing to photograph a place before I know it, but I do experience the walking part for sure. Anytime I travel, I walk, maybe 10 miles, easy most days. If I can't sleep because I'm jet lagged, I'll be up at 3 a.m. walking. This is the massive privilege of being a dude that it blows my mind to think about a life where I wouldn't be able to do this safely or feeling safe.
Yeah, being a white male and being able to walk anywhere rules, and it's pretty fucked up that everyone else can't.
Yep. It's fucking crazy. And I try and take full advantage of it whenever I'm in a new place. And I don't generally bring my camera. I just try and let the photo ideas rest on the back burner and not think about what I'm seeing in that way. But, I will say, maybe that does put certain places a disservice. However, I don't want Baltimore to become that known and be somewhat of a destination people start to flock to, which I feel is slightly starting to happen. It is, some places are immensely more beautiful than people realize, Baltimore being one of them. Like the architecture here and so many of the neighborhoods is really, really, really pretty. And because it's not so overrun with so many people, it's really, really, really pretty in a different way, right? Like Philly, is, I would say, is a closely similar type of architecture in most of its neighborhoods, but there's just like a billion times more people. not literally, but so there's so many more power lines and cars everywhere and all that stuff that comes with all the people, even though the architecture is largely the same. And Baltimore is just, there are some advantages to population decline. Not gonna lie. And
we are gonna do our best to make sure that this does not become a Baltimore appreciation podcast. But,
it's gonna be hard.
We're gonna say it once. Baltimore, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Well, we should check in with you in a year or two just to make sure, because
all right.
You have that honeymoon glow right
now.
I agree with
57.
you. Been here a while.
Baltimore, yes. Are you good? So I think the photography thing, like walking and taking photos of a place, is because I am very bad at paying attention and looking without a camera. Right, like
that makes sense.
I photograph a place, so I look at a place. Right, like it's not the other way around. It's not like I'm looking, therefore I'm going to take photos. It's like no. I'm taking photos, so I look.
Yeah.
And like the little details are what I love about a place. Right, like how like all the row houses in Baltimore all have their little windows that feed light, the single light source, into basements, and people put little trinkets on the shelves of those windows. I love those little trinkets. I love those little details of people, like how are they expressing themselves in this little thing, and it's like, ooh, that's a nice little boop. But I'm not going to look at that if I'm just walking down the street listening to music or listening to Endless Appreciation. Like and subscribe. Like I'm just gonna miss it, right? Like I'm gonna look at the dog, or I'm gonna look at the sky, or whatever. I'm gonna miss the little bits of magic that make a place a place. And when I'm looking to take photos, I'm not going to miss that, right? Like, I don't care what the clouds... As someone that takes a lot of photos of the sky, I don't actually care what the clouds look like when I'm carrying a camera, right? Like, I'm going to look at the sky. I'm going to see the sky, and if there's a nice photo, I'm going to take it of the sky. But, like, I'm not looking to the sky for photos. I'm looking for little details of places and homes and people and stuff, right? So, like, that's why...
Okay. Yeah, I don't have that issue. I try and, I'm pretty sensitive to all manner of details and anywhere that I'm walking. And so not that I remember any of it ever, but I am visually
because you're not taking pictures of it.
Very aware and dialed in. You're right. Yeah, maybe I should take more pictures. But are you standing this entire podcast?
Well, okay, so let me tell you a story. My parents live 90 minutes outside of Baltimore. It's one of the main reasons we moved here, was to be closer to family, help with some family health stuff, and also I just love my parents. They're marvelous. So we borrowed like a couple of pots and pans, some plates, and a few other necessities while our things are moving here. And one of the things that we borrowed is two counter stools. We borrowed 2 counter stools. My mother, God bless her, bought what looked good in her house, but does not feel good to sit on. It was not designed for sitting more than like a bowl of cereal. And unfortunately, these are the only chairs in our home.
Oh. So, gosh.
All right. I'm definitely standing in front of an exposed brick wall.
Okay, I was going to say, you either have to go to the bathroom or you're standing.
Just standing, wiggling
okay.
Back and forth.
We should have told me that at the start of this. I have, of course, a convertible standing desk, and I could have stood with you. So that way I could feel when you're reaching that's hard ceiling of, okay, this is starting to impact my mental acuity. Like I have to sit and take a break. I don't think I can stand for
alive.
an hour.
I feel marvelous.
I'm getting kind of sleepy, so we should wrap this up.
Oh God! You should have had a pot of coffee. Well,
I did.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just wrap it up there.
I went out on a very long run, and now I'm like.
Sam needs a nap, and it's time.
I'm still okay. Can I also say I meant to bring this up earlier? Your week may be all the negative experiences or what have you, the stressors you're dealing with, may be compounded by the fact that we still have freaking stupid daylight savings time, and we've just sprung forward and lost an hour.
Yeah, and, so we lost 2 hours.
Right. Yes, and I also am totally screwed because I was at home, then I was in Nashville, Then I was back at home. Then I was in Vegas and in Santa Cruz, which is like both the further part of that is a 3-4 hour time change. 4?
Yeah.
4. That 3. But now I lost an hour and I'm back. So this is, I've been getting very sleepy around this time every day.
Mexico, God bless them. I love Mexico so much. I am gonna miss it every day. Those beautiful folks got rid of daylight saving time. They were done.
Smart.
So they did not spring forward this year.
And I'm guessing everyone is fine, just like the state of Arizona.
They
don't change.
There are
it's
like
happening.
2 terrible weeks right now because Amsterdam is where Tom and Stefan live, and then I'm here in the States. We're a U.S. company, hooray. Europe doesn't spring forward till the end of March. And so there are like 2.5, 3 weeks where all of our calendar invites are just wrong.
Yeah.
And like everything just doesn't work. Time zones, they're terrible. We shouldn't have them.
Well, I don't know about that. China doesn't have time zones, but I don't think that works super easily.
It doesn't work great. But maybe if we did it more, everyone didn't have time. Just
Or
it's
maybe we could
always midnight. Maybe we should just do away with time and
Let's
like
do away with
tracking it.
time. I'm sick of my Apple Watch. Can I just tell you? No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to get into that. But always a pleasure. Glad you're here.
Sam,
Glad you got a
I
microphone.
appreciate you, buddy. Thanks.
This
thanks for
brick
the
wall
microphone.
background is hilarious, by the way. It feels very like, this is my first podcast and I need a cool background.
Hey guys, this is my new backdrop.
I actually do like it. It's real brick, right?
Yeah,
Right.
this is
it's like-
just this is the edge of our home. That's just where it
Have you met your
stops.
neighbors yet?
No, I think we live next to an Airbnb and a grumpy man. Because I tried to meet him yesterday. He was like getting out of his car and clearly going in. And I was like, "Hey, we just bought," and he was like, and I was like, "Okay, you're having a day."
Have you seen A Man Called Otto or read the book A Man Called Ove?
I have not, but would you like to know
Ove?
who just recommended this to me?
Who?
My mother. So
Okay.
what you're about to recommend
movie or
is
the book?
awesome. Both.
Okay, there you go.
Is
The book is excellent. You will be crying in the end. It takes a while to get there, but you will. And the movie, I actually kind of put a pin in it. I kind of paused it. But it's Tom Hanks. So.
Sam and my mother, same taste in media. I love that.
Yeah, it's excellent. And it's essentially about a grumpy old guy. That's why, I'm
You both
excited for
have
you.
the same hair too.
Okay, we're done here.
This is great. Okay, bye-bye.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's good.